All right, just imagine for a second, being born into a world of total silence. And then one day, with just a single treatment, you can hear. I mean, really hear. This isn't science fiction anymore, folks. Today, we're talking about a massive medical breakthrough from Regeneron Pharmaceuticals that's making this a reality.
So here it is. The FDA has just given the green light to something called autotermini. And this is a huge deal because it is the world's first gene therapy that's designed to fix the actual genetic root cause of a specific kind of deafness you're born with. We're not talking about managing symptoms here. We're talking about potentially reversing it.
Okay, so the big question is, how does this incredible therapy actually work? Well, to really get why it's so brilliant, we have to first understand the very specific genetic problem it was built to solve.
It all comes down to this one little protein. It's called otoferlin, and its job is, well, it's absolutely crucial. Think of it like a translator. It takes all the sound vibrations coming into your inner ear and converts them into signals that your brain can actually understand as sound. Now, the instruction manual for building this protein, that comes from a single gene, the OTOF gene. So you can probably guess what happens when that gene is faulty, right? The body can't make the protein correctly, and that connection between the ear and the brain, it just goes silent.
And this is where the science gets so cool. The therapy uses something called an AAV vector. Now don't let the name scare you, just think of it as a tiny, harmless delivery truck. It's basically a deactivated virus that scientists have repurposed. And what's in the truck? A brand new, perfectly working copy of that OTOF gene. This little truck is then carefully injected directly into the cochlea, which, by the way, is a super tricky place to get to. Once it's in there, it drops off its cargo. The cells get the new, correct instructions, they start making that all-important otoferlin protein, and bam, that line of communication to the brain, it just switches back on.
This is a total game changer in how we even think about this condition. For decades, what were the options? Hearing aids, cochlear implants, and don't get me wrong, those are amazing technologies. But they manage symptoms, they amplify sound, they bypass damaged parts. Autotermini, it does something completely different. It doesn't just put a bandage on the problem, it goes right to the source, to the DNA, and fixes the genetic mistake. This is about a potential one-time, permanent cure.
Okay, so the science sounds amazing in theory, but what about in the real world? How did it actually work for patients in the clinical trials? Well, let me tell you, the results were absolutely incredible.
The biggest takeaway from the trials, it's just mind-blowing. We're talking about patients who were born with severe, profound deafness. After just one treatment, they achieved near normal hearing. I mean, just stop and think about that for a second. The ability to hear everything, a conversation, music, for the very first time.
And get this wasn't something that took years or even a bunch of months. The data showed that patients were responding incredibly fast. We're talking about major, life-altering improvements within just a few weeks of getting that one treatment. Just wow.
So let's just recap how successful this was. You've got significant hearing improvement pretty much across the board. You have that incredibly fast response we just talked about. And for the kids in the study, I mean, it was completely transformative. It wasn't just about hearing, it opened up their entire world. Their speech and development improved dramatically. The bottom line? This thing really works.
All right, whenever you hear about a one-time cure this powerful, your brain immediately goes to one question, right? The big one. What's the price tag? And I gotta tell you, this is where a story that's already amazing gets absolutely unbelievable.
Seriously, think about it. We're talking about a treatment that can literally go in, fix your genetic code, and give you back an entire sense. I mean, what kind of price would you even put on that? How do you quantify that?
Now, we have to remember the context here. Gene therapies are the absolute cutting edge of medicine, and they are famous for having astronomical price tags. Seriously, we've seen other gene therapies get approved that cost $2, $3, I think there's one that's close to $4 million for one dose. That's the going rate.
So with that in mind, Regeneron's announcement just blew everyone away. They announced that for every single eligible patient in the United States, this therapy will be provided for free. Yep, $0. It's completely unheard of. It basically just sidesteps that whole massive debate about how we can afford these miracle drugs. The entire industry was just stunned.
So obviously, this is an incredible, life-changing win for patients with this specific genetic mutation. But the impact of this moment, it goes way beyond just this one therapy. We've really got to zoom out and look at the bigger picture here.
And I'm not the only one saying this. Medical experts are not mincing words. They're calling this a transformational milestone in genomic medicine. This isn't just, another small step forward. This is a giant leap. It's proof that this new era of medicine we've all been talking about, it's actually here.
So, what does this new era look like? Well, first, the success here basically gives us a playbook for tackling other genetic problems, like certain kinds of blindness. It's also a huge win for what we call precision medicine, the whole idea of targeting the exact genetic source of a disease. And, like we said before, it signals that massive shift away from just managing symptoms for a lifetime to actually delivering a one-time cure.
When you look at the approval of OTOF Mini, it really feels like we're turning the page on a new chapter in medicine, maybe even in human history. It proves that this idea of fixing our own genetic code, it's not some far-off dream anymore. It is happening right now, which leaves us with this one huge and really hopeful question. Are we finally, for real, entering the age of genetic cures?